Hello, I'm Dr. Scott Watier.
And I'm Tommy Welling, and you're listening to the Fasting for Life podcast.
This podcast is about using fasting as a tool to regain your health, achieve ultimate wellness, and live the life you truly deserve.
Each episode is a short conversation on a single topic with immediate actionable steps. We cover everything from fat loss and health and wellness to the science of lifestyle design.
We started Fasting for Life because of how fasting has transformed our lives, and we hope to share the tools that we have learned along the way. Hey everyone, welcome to the Fasting for Life podcast. My name is Dr. Scott Watier, and I'm here, as always, with my good friend and colleague, Tommy Welling. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Hey, Scott, how are you?
Fantastic, my friend. Excited for today's conversation. And as we are coming up on the holidays, so this episode is coming out on the 23rd of December. So before we get into today's episode, I want to wish everyone just an absolutely Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays from us here at Fasting for Life. We have big things in store for 2026, and we are so grateful for each and every one of you that is listening in with us over the course of the last few years. Or if you're new, welcome in to the Fasting for Life podcast. We're excited to have you on our fasting lifestyle journey with us. If you want to know more about why we do what we do, why we do an episode each week, why we have the resources, the challenges, the website, etc., and the coaching, head back to episode 0, episode 1, give it a listen. Give us a little grace. We did no idea what we were doing back then. Now that we're 300 plus episodes in, maybe we still don't really know what we're doing, but I think we got a better handle on it.
Yeah, hopefully.
But it'll give you a little perspective on how fasting transformed our lives and ultimately how it can do the same for you. And if you're a long-term listener, again, just thank you so much for being on this journey with us. The messages, the likes, the rates, the reviews, so grateful. We want to give a shout out, Tommy, to Zach's_healthy_life. This is a 5-star, our favorite kind. Nice. Thankfully, we have lots of them. And he says, the best fasting podcast out there. Right, Tommy?
Wow. Thank you, Zach. Stumbled onto this accidentally just by typing fasting in. And the information on this podcast is gold and constantly relevant, easily understandable information for people who aren't physiology knowledgeable. So I love the focus on explaining the physiology, which most nutritionists, dietitians don't do. I was already relatively fit, living a good fasting lifestyle, but I've lost 10 pounds in about 2 months. Never been this lean in my life. So congrats on that, Zach. And keep up the good work. And hopefully you find some more episodes that continue to resonate with you and continue to help you hone in on that fasting lifestyle too.
Yeah, and at Zach's_healthy_life, give me a shout out on Instagram. Slide into my DMs, AK, as the kids are saying these days. At Dr. Scott Watier on Instagram. Would love to connect. Thank you so much for taking the time and leaving us that great review. And so happy that you find what we do valuable. So thanks, man. Truly appreciate it. So let's get into today's conversation. We're going to title today's very timely episode. And it's kind of like a recap of the kind of the transformation or what we've changed our stance on or how we approach fasting now versus the first 6 months that we did it, 5+ years ago. We're going to name it Personalization and Fasting Beyond the Timer. And our stance has changed on some things over the years. So as we're wrapping up this year, coming into the holidays, we've got incredible episodes ready to roll for you over the next couple of weeks and setting some intentions for 2026 and how to wrap up the year in 2025 with a kind of a year in review. This is something that we've truly been found at the core of what we found that's worked best for us. And then the thousands of patients I would say patients from being back in clinic for so many years, people that we've taken through our challenges. And then the hundreds of folks that's been part of our coaching program, we've truly found that this personalization trumps rigid fasting schedules.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about this TimIt study, which is this trial that they did in this recent research that really doubles down on the fact that you need to customize fasting for real life versus these rigid fasting rules. And I could not have said it better myself when in the summary of the research article. So we're going to get into it and kind of unpack what that looks like for this customization, personalization piece to make it fit your fasting lifestyle. You, the mom or the dad or the business owner or the CEO or the sales clerk or wherever you are in your journey with your lifestyle, your family, your friends, your social interactions, your sleep schedule, because that's truly where we found that customization and personalization success leaves clues in the thousands of folks that we've coached over the years now.
Yeah, and I think one of the downsides of the way that this is oftentimes talked about, or maybe not prescribed necessarily, but a recommended fasting plan, or like, well, when we hear the question, "What's the best fasting plan?" Well, that's such a loaded question. But even if you go hire a nutritionist or a trainer, anything like that, typically what you get is not a whole lot of wiggle room for your personal set of obstacles, your personal obstacle course, your personal lifestyle, and what your schedule looks like and things like that. Typically what you get is you need to be doing this a certain number of times per week, or maybe at this particular time of day, in order to have the results that you're looking for. But when we take that, if we try to apply that kind of logic to a fasting lifestyle, what we typically get is so many time-based either restrictions or things that need to be said no to, or like friction, levels of friction that just create long-term issues that, if we're not flexible with those, um, typically what happens is eventually the baby gets thrown out with the bathwater. And so I think even just acknowledging the fact that when you're getting into a fasting lifestyle, let's start from the beginning with the foundation is understanding that, like, 3 meals a day plus snacks is not usually the right lifestyle for most of us full grown adults, especially a full grown adult with some weight to lose and potentially a history of some level of insulin resistance, like many of us who come to fasting have. But typically, the long term goal being fat loss for a lot of us in desperation mode, which is why we might try out intermittent fasting to begin with. That long-term goal of fat loss sometimes comes square, like face to face with like lifestyle obstacles. And so I think that that's an important acknowledgement, because we can work around that. Sometimes we just need to flip the order of operations in order to kind of successfully work around that.
So when we're looking at the actual study, this was the study, the TimIt trial. It was a clinical study titled "Time Restricted Eating for Metabolic Syndrome,"
Mhm.
and it was really looking at evaluating the effects of a customized TRE. So not just 10 to 6, right? So
Mhm.
customizing it in adults diagnosed with metabolic syndrome, right? So on the path to diabetes, blood sugar issues, high blood pressure, elevated triglycerides, increased waist circumference, cardiometabolic issues in the future, comorbidities, lifestyle health conditions in the later decades of life, all of that stuff. So people that had metabolic syndrome. And so what they looked at, it was the first major randomized clinical trial to test the benefits of a personalized schedule for patients with metabolic syndrome, even while taking standard meds.
Mhm.
So 108 adults, TRE group, where participants selected an 8 to 10 hour daily eating window suited to their lifestyle. So both groups received Mediterranean diet counseling, and the trial measured changes in weight, glucose, A1C, cholesterol, body fat, and cardiovascular risk over those 3 months. And what the trial found is it found that lifestyle customized fasting, rather than a one size fits all rule, is most effective for improving metabolic health and long term outcomes, which was just doubling down on what we already see and kind of do. So it was kind of great to see that, oh, yeah, this study showed, when you personalize the eating window adapted to eating habits,
Mhm.
work, and sleep schedules. But they also took into account some of the social kind of interactions that these folks had on a day to day, week to week basis.
Yeah, with a really high level of compliance, because that's one of the trickiest things, is long-term compliance to fasting. Now, we've talked recently at length about what your default fasting time is, your foundational fasting time. So even just having that, as the foundation of what you do, even when you can't do your high level fasting goal for that day, or maybe exactly what you'd like to do to, hit more accelerated fat loss. That's okay. Not every day is going to be a 10, but just knowing that kind of molding your fasting goals around your lifestyle, especially in the beginning, especially as you're kind of getting the foundation of it and kind of reworking just what you do on most days, rather than thinking about fasting as your next diet, thinking about it more as a lifestyle shift, a long-term lifestyle shift, means that compliance level is going to be higher and results are actually better here, because this is one of the only studies. This might actually be the only
They
study.
said it's the only one. Yeah.
Yeah, that we've ever seen that did not have a regimented, actual just time base that everybody had to follow, regardless of what their job situation, their home life, time that they typically go to bed at night and wake up in the morning, circadian rhythm, all of these kind of things. Um, no other study, really kind of absorbs that many variables like that. And so to see the results, get better and compliance get better with that, it absolutely makes sense. It's just that we don't typically hear it being talked about like that, and so most people don't take the liberty of actually doing that. So this is like, hey, these are the results. No, you don't throw away the results just because the eating window went a little bit later. But if that's what works better for your lifestyle, then guess what? You stick to it. So you show up with the consistency. Is it the perfect physiological plan? Maybe, maybe not. But if you can't move all of those lifestyle factors, like we've done numerous episodes regarding shift workers, and so that's a relatively extreme example. If you're not a shift worker, but having those regimented, really outside of ideal biological times, as far as your eating opportunities, if that's what you're contending with, you're not going to be able to, follow a strict regimen, right? Day to day, that your compliance is just going to go to zero.
And the amazing thing of this study was that the TRE group saw significant improvements in blood sugar, cholesterol, A1C, long-term glucose control, reduced body weight, BMI, and abdominal fat with no significant lean muscle loss.
Wow.
The improvement in this study, with all these different variations in this personalization and customization, it outperformed more intensive interventions such as the National Diabetes Prevention Program.
Wow.
So it wasn't a one size fits all, right? It was around your lifestyle patterns, which is something that we preach and teach, which is the adherence score, right? We've talked a lot about that over a lot of episodes this year, where we found studies where the different fasting schedules had different adherence scores. So the key is it's designed around your lifestyle patterns, making the adherence easier, which then ultimately boosts sustainability, which is so much better than just I'm going to eat OMAD dinner every single day until the weight's off.
Yeah.
Right?
Been there. Yep.
Yeah. So nutritional quality, exercise, sleep, that allowed for that flexibility in meal timing. So this is why we talk about putting intention into your week, right? So what's your big, hairy, audacious, result-based goal? What's your forever number? And then we need the actions on how we're going to get there. But you don't get motivated, take an action, and get the scale result you want, right? And I love that this kind of puts the scale in a secondary position as well. It's you take an action, you get a result, you interpret that result as data, you make changes, and then you keep motivated because you're working through this in an active way rather than the just set it and forget it. Here's my fasting schedule. Here's the food I'm going to eat. And then you don't feel good about your food choices. You go off the rails. Life gets in the way. A business lunch comes up. A holiday Christmas party derails you. Like, we want to have that flexibility, and fasting truly is the tool to that's going to get you there. It just needs to be adopted to your individual current situation.
I like that you highlighted that this puts the scale in the secondary position. Like I mentioned, when you come into fasting, a lot of times that is the primary target, is just trying to get the dang scale to move. So understanding and giving yourself permission to put that scale in the secondary position at least, and just take some of the pressure off.
Yep.
when you're just getting started with fasting, or maybe you're just getting on track with fasting, or maybe you're trying to break the diet cycle that you've been using fasting as just kind of a diet,
Yeah.
and
The
then
on off model, right?
the on off model, thank you, and you're trying to shift into that more like, okay, I'm looking to play the long game here. I want this to be more lifestyle driven. Okay, well then let's take the emphasis off the scale. We can, it doesn't mean you can't check in with it, but let's not just use it for daily feedback, because it's such a lag measure. It's not necessarily giving you the right feedback for the right choices and the right actions that you're making.
Yep.
So this lifestyle is built regardless of what the scale is doing.
So it's this lifestyle over rigidity fasting adaptation, right? And this is what I found in my life and the people we coach and the people that come through the challenges, right? The thousands of folks. This is the feedback we get a lot is, well, what's the best fasting schedule? Well, the one you can stick to. Like, I know it's like, well, we're not really answering your question, but it's like, what do you need? What do you do? What's your eating habits? Like, if you tell me that for me to lose the weight and be healthy and increase my longevity, I need to eat seafood 3 times a day. I'm like, well, that's not the plan for me, because that doesn't include pizza and popcorn nights with the kids. That doesn't include, I don't like fish first and foremost. It's not I like sushi. No one else, my kids like fish. My wife doesn't like fish. Guess what? We don't cook a lot of fish. That's not the right plan for me.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, lifestyle wise, it just doesn't really work that well. Yeah.
Yeah, so the article reviews that flexibility, right? So integrating your fasting schedules with your sleep, work, and social life, but also combining that with your diet, quality, movement, and stress management. So around the holidays, we just talked about this on the last episode, in terms of how to put some floors in, like basement things that you, over the last few episodes actually, but specifically last episode, where we have a full like on it day and then you have a floor. And the floor is a baseline, which allows you to stay consistent because you're still telling your brain that you're on track because you're doing the baseline, right? So if you can't get your workout on that day, just going for a post-meal walk. And we unpacked that last episode. So go ahead, go back and listen to it. But it kind of like, it's not like necessarily outdated that fasting is a one size fit all, but if you're going to be looking on how to like personalize this, we talk about, a 4-hour window on holidays, compartmentalizing it, taking the dessert home. So all of those things are going to be based on what your holiday schedule and routine looks like. And you have family traditions. We're going to be painting cookies this year. Uncle Dave's coming to visit. Super exciting. So damn right, I'm going to eat some of those cookies that night. Heck yeah, that's going to be part of my plan that day. I don't have cookies on the menu this week. Just not part of my thing right now, right?
Yeah.
We just don't have them. So how do you like personalize your fasting journey? Well, you can go to the show notes, click the blueprint. We have outlines of different variations of fasting schedules. You have to try them on for size, right? I wouldn't recommend buying the wedding dress on Etsy, right? Like you got to go try it on. Don't buy the Amazon tuxedo, right?
Yeah.
You might show up looking like the fat guy in a little coat, right? From what movie was that?
Yeah, on SNL back in the day.
Chris Farley. Or you might look like the guy who's lost 100 pounds and the suit's just falling off you, right? So it's not, you got to try it on for size. So you can get some schedules from there, but you got to start with your current routine. So don't overhaul overnight, right? Like, I binged on ice cream. I'm just going to throw out ice cream. I'm never going to buy ice cream again. Well, that's only going to last for a short amount of time. Ice cream's eventually going to show up in front of your face at one point, and you're going to have a decision to make. Right? So don't overhaul, throw everything out of the pantry and just start over. Just like your fasting times. Don't say, oh man, I've been off. I'm just going to do a 72-hour fast. Like, that's probably not a good sustainable strategy. So adjust your eating windows. Here it is, to fit your work schedule, your family schedule, and your sleep schedule. Focus on quality hydration and exercise/stress management. You got to get some movement in, because when you're underslept, underhydrated, and stressed out, it's damn near impossible to white knuckle your way through repeated fasting schedules, right, Tommy?
Yeah, and I think exercise just kind of compounds all of the same things that you just highlighted there, which is like my ideal exercise from when I was just in the gym. And if I wasn't in the gym, then my food choices kind of fell by the wayside so much. There just wasn't structure. I put my eating plan and my exercise plan were basically like one and the same. If one of them fell off, the other one's falling off too. And if one of them's on, then the other one's very much on. So the trouble there is oftentimes your daily schedule, because if you go for that morning workout, if that's your ideal, and then you don't pull it off, well, then what happens? How do your decisions follow after that, the rest of the day, and then going into the next day? And as we can see here, having some flexibility within your lifestyle, understanding where those moving parts are, and having a plan for that, even for your planned exercise times, is one and the same. Because would it be ideal for me to have some exercise after my meals? Absolutely, it would. It's great for glycemic control, great for insulin response, great for insulin sensitivity, and prioritizing sleep. Your sleep, you'll get into a deeper sleep state, more recovery based sleep state faster when you have some activity, between your meal, like especially if it's dinner, and going to sleep. However, it just doesn't always work out that way. So get your exercise in when you can. Be a little bit more flexible about it,
Yep.
rather than feeling so regimented.
Yep, absolutely. So when we're looking at the kind of the takeaway from here is, the incredible changes that were in this TimIt study from a metabolic standpoint were incredible. The lean muscle preservation, the weight loss, but it was really about those metabolic health markers. So we talked a couple episodes ago about 16-8 being a baseline. So as you're going through the holidays, make sure that the personalization, customization, we're going to Dallas, we went to Dallas for Thanksgiving. We were going to go to Dallas for Christmas this year. But with 3 kids under 8, we're like, nah, let's stay home. Santa comes here. It just makes it easier. So we went for Thanksgiving. That wasn't on our holiday schedule last year. So it's a different holiday experience this year compared to last year. Right? So when we're looking at it, the idea here is that the long-term sustainability comes from flexibility and lifestyle fit, just not the willpower component. So you got to look at your month, right? So look at how you want to start January, how you want the beginning of the year to go. What do you have left for Christmas and New Year's celebrations coming up? What do those look like? Sit down, pen and paper, put your fasting plan together, put your movement plan together, put your hydration plan together, and then you have a floor based off what we talked about last week to be able to to take the pressure off of your brain from having to make the real-time decisions and try to freelance or figure it out in the moment as you go through this next holidays with Christmas and New Year's. And then moving into 2026, you can have a lot more momentum and get some real life try it on for size applications, and you're going to get a lot of good feedback. Some days are going to go good, some days aren't going to go as good. But that's going to allow you, because fasting is the tool, the personalization unlocks the real fasting power and results in the long term.
I love when you bring in the holidays into it, because I spent so many holidays being so regimented with that black and white, that kind of perfectionism on off in my diet mind, for my quote unquote diet plan, that during the holidays, it felt like I just had a lot of moving parts. We have split families. We got family over here, family over there, constantly just road warring around, trying to get everybody, trying to see everybody, and it just felt like this is the time to be off track, or to like turn off the diet and it wasn't just even like a day or two. It ended up being maybe a week or two, several times throughout the holiday season, is kind of how it went for us. And that may be an extreme example, but at the same time, you can run into any season of life or any particular quarter, and it could be something, like a good time, or it could be a bad time of life where you just feel completely kind of like out of control for a while, and then it can feel very tough to get back on. But if you go into it with this is about my lifestyle, not about my diet, not about what the scale is going to do over the next few days or even the next week or two, but this is still going to be my lifestyle after this season is over, come the good, the bad, or the ugly, then that's a way to look at it. Like, okay, I'm able to do some things that will help a little bit, but mostly they're just going to help me stay treading water. Stay feeling like I have traction rather than like the wheels are just spinning out of control. Because when you feel like that, then any given opportunity that you have to make a better choice, like a 1% better choice, or take a little bit more control, take the reins back, even if it's just for a day or two before kind of stuff hits the fan again, then you're going to take it. You're going to see that as an opportunity rather than, well, no, I'm still off track and I'll just kind of get back on when the holidays are over or when I feel like it again. And as far as your long-term results go, we've reviewed studies in the past that looked at the relatively small weight gain that potentially comes over the holiday season, but then on average doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't go away later on, which then can average out to that small half a pound to a pound of weight gain each year that really accumulates from our 30s all the way into our 70s and 80s. And so taking a slightly different approach now means you can absolutely maintain control and feel like you never really got off track. You never really like lost control, right? Regardless of the season.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the crux of it right there, is that it isn't that you gain all of the weight during the holidays, is that you never get it off after the holidays. And what that tells us is that it's that foundational habits, right? It's the day-to-day actions, those small actions that you're taking. And that's why last week's episode, I think, was so powerful. But really it's how do you make this work for you, right? So sometimes we hear in the marriage merge, we have some spouses that are on board and some spouses that aren't. Mm-hmm. Some families have kids. We did a kid dedicated podcast episode a few months back where we talked about how do you talk about fasting and how do you not eat dinner with the family some nights a week, and how do you have that conversation and teach kids about true quality nutrition principles. So it's really about that personalized focus tailored to what you're kind of how you live your day-to-day life. Now, if you're eating fast food and refined processed foods and DoorDashing 3 times a day and drinking 10 cups of coffee and slugging energy drinks, and then yeah, we got a lot of work to do. But if you are consistently trying fasting on for size, then the personalization, customization piece and some of those things we talked about in terms of action steps that I mentioned, that's where you want to start. Because true personalization means designing your fasting and wellness habits for what works best for you, even during the holidays. So take some time, sit down, right? Before Christmas and New Year's, put a plan together, because that's going to consistently honor your goals, adapt your approach, and celebrate your progress in a way that feels genuinely sustainable and rewarding for you as an individual, not for someone else on the outside who doesn't get a vote on what your goals and expectations are. So, Tommy, I just love the conversation. Thanks so much for having it. I love the study, groundbreaking, first one of its kind. Doubles down on kind of what we teach and preach and how our message has changed over the years from our first resource that we ever created with the Fast Start Guide. But if you're looking for more support, you can head to the show notes, grab a resource. You can reach out to us at the info@thefastingforlife.com. I just want to wish everyone again a Merry Christmas, a Happy Holidays, a Happy New Year, and excited for what's to come in 2026.
Me too. Yep.
All right, buddy. Thanks so much. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. Bye. So, you've heard today's episode, and you may be wondering, where do I start? Head on over to thefastingforlife.com and sign up for our newsletter, where you'll receive fasting tips and strategies to maximize results and fit fasting into your day-to-day life.
While you're there, download your free Fast Start Guide to get started today. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review, and we'll be back next week with another episode of Fasting for Life.